Firstly, thank you everyone for coming to my session. This has been a pleasure to have you all here. Thanks to Infocomm who's organizing this session. Thanks to ICT Academy who's trying to organize this for us. And last but not the least, thanks to my organization Vega Global and our dignitaries here today. Thank you so much that we are here for a very important discussion that we've had post-COVID. So today the topic is going to be managed services for the future hybrid world. I'll quickly take this opportunity to introduce myself and my company that I am representing. I am Shankar Varier. I head the customer division, services division for Vega India. We pretty much do system integration very specifically to audiovisual industry. So today the focus is going to be the AV technology, which is advanced in the last 2-3 years, that we are seeing so much of hybrid usage of technologies. We would like to take this opportunity to show you what managed services on this front means, right? I just wanted to understand quickly the gathering here. How many of you are from the education sector here? All right, college education sectors. Anybody from government? No. Anybody from corporates? Healthcare? All right, we have a huge audience from the education sector. This will be interesting for you because what I'd be talking here today is what is being followed by the corporates of the industry, the what do you call the commercial segment or the enterprise level clients. But this is a very translatable technology that can be adopted to education as well, right? So I wanted to open this session with a little note. Have you guys heard of Gulliver Travers? Do you remember this old folklore or that we have heard when our childhood dreams, when we were going to school, people used to talk to us about this man from a British, a doctor who went to a little town and then got lost and finally found a bunch of Lilliputians, right, in this little island. So I just want to relate this kiddish concept that we have into our managed services. So what happened to Gulliver in this little island is basically all the Lilliputians tried to help him, get him back up on feet when he was sick, and he basically in turn helped them. I want to relate this to managed services, how we do in our corporate, right? So the Gulliver here is the representation of our client, right? Today the client is the focus for all of us, and the Lilliputians that you see here are the industry experts, right? Without having this combination or having this energy between Gulliver and the Lilliputians, we would never be able to have success in such a format. In terms of hybrid, you can see a Gulliver is currently working with a hybrid setup here, right? So I just wanted to introduce you to this concept of managed services right at front, right? So a seamless collaboration in this hybrid world always requires a very strong support system. So that's the statement that we wanted to make in terms of managed services, right? So I'd like to quickly explain to you what managed services, very specifically in terms of AV, the domain of AV that we are talking about here today, right? Managed services can be anything that starts or even before a project ends, right? This is the time that a company gives you an end-to-end support. This could be a system integrated, this could be a managed services, specific managed services provider. Like Vega that we have here today, we do this for all of our clients, right? So we do project installation, system integration, and also finish off with managed services, which starts off as some kind of industry business intelligence that you can see here. What we also do is equipment backup and resource backfill. This forms part of managed services. We have remote support. We have maintenance, equipment maintenance, basically if there are any equipments which are down. We have infrastructure management services, remotely understanding what is happening to your equipment, how do we maintain them, how do we do subscriptions on these equipment. Basically this is on whole what managed services is, all right. What we also want to do is understand why do we have to choose a managed service provider, right? The key advantages of having a managed service provider is to protect your AV investments, to increase the reliability of this equipment, right? So you need to make sure that this equipment you have paid for is going to stay for a very long time. How is it getting managed? It also adds business intelligence, valuable business intelligence in terms of getting stats and data collected. Also, you get expert advice and support from the folks that's providing managed services, and basically, to wrap it up, it's a peace of mind, right? That's the whole focus of managed services. What are the different types of managed services model, right? One of the most popular managed service model is back-to-back OEM support, right? So if you, for example, purchase a bunch of Crestron equipment, right? Let's say for your control systems in your meeting rooms, how do we have back-to-back support for these equipment? That is one of the first models that we talk here about back-to-back OEM support. We can also have on-site help desk. For example, one of our clients whom we have provided this equipment in terms of hundreds of meeting rooms in a specific space. How do we provide help desk model? You know, you could have a fleet of engineers sitting on site at a particular location who's is just a click away for your support or a call away within this entire enterprise, so that you can have managed your security systems and everything under one hood. So that is on-site help desk model. We could have staff augmentation. For example, you could have an IT team who's handling your AV or who's handling your specific technology divisions. You could have extra staff get onto this payroll who are experts at AV, right? So they could probably be an augmentation that you can add to your existing resources. And last but not the least, the end-to-end support. The end-to-end support basically could be anything from installing or having a backup equipment that to be replaced if there is a faulty device. For example, the system integrator would take care of anything which happens to subscriptions, anything which happens to licensing as well. So that's end-to-end support that we are talking about. But of late, we have seen a couple more models come up with managed services, which is contact center as a service, right? Now that there are a lot of system integrators who would like to give a uniformed way of approach to different clients. So you could have, for example, multiple universities. This is the education sector that I would want to talk to you about. We could have multiple universities located in multiple campuses across the world, using a consistent service, right? You could have a managed services provider based out of a certain location who can remotely manage your equipment. For example, your lecture halls, your auditorium spaces, your specific meeting room collaboration spaces. The equipment what's installed there can be connected over to the cloud, and we could manage that remotely, right? Another big model that we have seen which has come up in demand, especially in the AV industry, is the project management as a service model, right? This is a very recent development. Previously, projects, when you say projects, end-to-end build up of a site in terms of equipment, in terms of meeting room space or an auditorium space, right? Previously was generally managed with the client, right? And they had to put all the resources to manage this. Now we see that there is more traction towards having this project management as a service. So they would just contract a project manager for a period, for example, running for 2 years, and then they would just be able to use these resources, get expert advice on this, not have an IT manager resource manage an AV. So we could have expert AV resources doing this. So that is also another big model that I have seen coming up in the last few years. I wanted to now jump into a couple of trends that we have seen since the pandemic, right? I know the pandemic has been a very difficult phase for most of us, and with that, technology has evolved. Everybody, especially the education sector, who's jumped onto the bandwagon of Zoom and Teams and so on. I wanted to just give you a highlights of what are the trends currently that's happening. One being video collaboration. That's a given. We need video in terms of being able to make that connection to anybody on the other side, whether it's students, whether it is another corporate client, or if it's a specific meeting that you're getting into. Virtual events and webinars, that's picked up a lot of steam in the last 2 years, right? with the onset of not being able to do this in-person event very often, we now have this technology for webinars and events that can be done over cloud for something like Kumu. These are tools that uses that can be done for cloud and collaboration. We also have hybrid office spaces. I'll be talking about hybrid office spaces a bit more in my next slides. We have a lot of BYOD plug and play devices that you can use in terms of getting yourself equipped with the right tools to make a proper meeting. There is a lot of solutions out there. Now we have an interesting solution that's come up in the recent past, which are environmental sensors, right? Couple of these environmental sensors, for example, we have a manufacturer called XYSense who have intelligent sensors that's placed in equipment in the office space, which detects the number of people in the office. It detects how are we placed in terms of having these people spread out in the campus, what is the usage of each meeting room spaces, and so on. There's a lot of intelligence that you can derive from this, which can be used to evolve a couple of things in your own organization, have a couple of meeting rooms and spaces which can be dedicated for these spaces, right? So there's a lot of business intelligence you can run out of this. I also want to talk about new wave workspace. So this is also another technology which basically brings in valuable information, as such as you enter into a space, a workspace, and you know that there's a temperature sensor that you measure yourself. If there is a case of COVID, how do we backtrack this? There's a facility that you can make sure that your entire employee register can be tracked in terms of contact tracing and so on as well. So these are the couple of technologies that's come up during the COVID and has been very helpful for us to maintain health and safety as well within our spaces. So a couple of risk versus opportunity of having this hybrid work, right? Now what we have seen is hybrid work is great in terms of having reduced real estate costs, because people are cutting down their buildings, the number of buildings that's gone across their campuses. But there's increased business continuity. There's nobody stopping saying that, okay, I'm not in the office, I'm not going to work, right? There's lower business operating costs as well. You're not maintaining a huge space for a couple of hundreds of employees. You can have a hybrid model, you can have a smaller space. So that is cutting down the operating cost. You have the flexibility given to employees, right? That's a major feature of hybrid work. They can work from anywhere. They could be on a beach, they could be in their holiday, they could still do things, right? You can access the entire global workforce. So that's another big advantage of having hybrid. You don't have to have people from specifically location Mumbai or Bangalore. You can have your resources working from anywhere. You could have resourcing started in Philippines. You can have a wing in Hong Kong, right? So this is some of the advantages of opportunities that the hybrid work has brought, but we also have to recognize it comes with a couple of risks. Some of the risks that we have seen is data security and cyber risk. This has been one of the key things that the AV industry currently is looking at. How do we protect this, right? How do we make sure that there is no specific data leak when the employees are working from home? How do we govern our employees? How do we have strict messages going across? This is not as effective as being in the office, right? Cultural risk. You don't have the inclusivity or the culture that you can imbibe when you have people coming physically into the office. There are a couple of productivity risks. People are taking advantage of our leniency in terms of hybrid. These are some things that we are still working on. There's mental health and safety. People are overworked. I know that some of my friends who worked through the pandemic are just so burnt out. They want to retire at 40, they want to retire at 45. So these are the couple of risks that we see that hybrid has also brought in, right? So now I want to take a quick moment to show you some public reports that one of our partners, JLL, who's into real estate management, has done a research on this, right? So they did this research on a couple of employees from different locations, and here are some interesting facts that we saw, right? they saw that hybrid work is the new normal and there is no other preferred way of working. So they checked with the employees to see what it is. So 66% of employees are expecting to be able to work from different locations. These are some things that when given a choice, people do choose what is right. 50% want to work from both office and remotely. This is the initial data that we saw. But then with bit more research, and this was done in the late 2020, now in 2022, I have some more figures again done by JLL with the revision. These are some of the facts that are irresistible to look at. So 70% of employees consider that coming to office is more healthy for them. Coming to office is the perfect place for building team management and support and carrying out complex tasks. If you want to do real time collaboration, we still need to have our folks right next to us. So this is something that's inevitable, and 74% of the employees still want the ability to come into the office. So this has changed from 2020 to 2022. How do we adapt as an industry, as an AV industry, into these, how are we going to serve our clients, or how are we going to serve our end users? Some of the things that's come up very recently and in full focus is our Microsoft solutions. We have some collaborative spaces where you can have people working from home, working from office, working from a beach. All seems so seamless. Previously we used to have this gigantic meeting room spaces where we are talking to another endpoint. It's not the case anymore. You could be anywhere and still feel that you are within the room. So Microsoft has a couple of amazing collaboration spaces and solutions. We also have a remote admin team center. This is where the element of managed services is coming into play. So when we have hundreds of meeting room spaces of this sort, how do you manage them? How do you keep a track of them? Who are your experts to do this? Is it the IT team or is it a dedicated AV team? So this is where managed service providers like Vega can probably come into a picture and give you these solutions. We can manage your 500 rooms that is running Teams across, and we can have access to this Teams console to do this. Another provider, similar provider in this space is Cisco. Of course, you would have heard WebEx, just like Teams. They also have a control hub which has a similar feature, does a lot of business intelligence that you take. How many rooms are actually getting used? How many people are actually getting the best out of these rooms, and how do we evolve these rooms? So again, a managed service provider can pull in these information from these control hubs and give it to you in a format that is usable. This is a couple of things that in terms of hybrid workspaces we have seen. Again, I spoke about this. The XY Sense is a room sensor that we can have, which will pull in intelligent data. You can understand how many people are using the entire space. Move across. I want to also give you a small case study of the new normal, post pandemic. How are we expecting to come back into the office, and what are the things that we are going to have a look at? So I have a little character here called Ting Ting, who uses a mobile phone to come and book a taxi. Everything is touchless. You have your own device. Comes with a app, leaves you at the doorstep of your office. She walks into the office. She looks at her temperature. It's all green. What do we do next? We have to book a space. Even before coming in, she can do this from right up at her home. I know I have a space here and I have to work with a couple of these employees. I want to be closer to them. Book a space, make sure that it's under your name. When you're walking into this, the sensors, the new wave management system will show you the path where she's going to be placed today. So that is where she would be walking towards. Once her temperature is tracked, if there is irregularities, it will also highlight the people around her, highlight the management who knows to contact trace if there is any emergencies or any issues in the future. She also finds her reserved desk, which comes up with devices which says green, which are for available, and the red, which is booked. So she has no confusion saying, okay, is this someone else's desk? Is this my desk? It's always going to be numbered and given them. So she walks into the office. She goes into a meeting space. She opens up a phone. gets a QR code scanned, right? This is again with usage of a software called Bunch, another provider that who's given us this feature to get all your meeting spaces under one hood, right? You can book your spaces, you can have digital signages, play on these what do you call the meeting room panels outside. There are a bunch of things that you can do with this specific software called Bunch, right? And then she walks into the room. Traditionally, we used to connect our laptops into a HDMI cable, but not anymore. We have click share devices, we have wireless presenters, right? You don't even need to have physical contact with anything to do within the room. Just bring in a laptop, you're ready to go, and you can start your presentation right away. She can also later that day, go get her coffee and gets ready and get started for the day, and she can come back and say, okay, there is some issue in this room, how do I report this, right? You can leave, for example, the same software which you used to book these spaces, she can note saying that, okay, the microphone in that room is not working, or I need a coffee refill in this place, there are water that's not getting refilled in this space. She can highlight to the relevant team. The facilities team can then redirect it to a place where this can be done. So this is the entirety of the management, a hybrid workforce that can be delivered by a managed service provider, right? So anything to do with starting from technology, getting into an office to get out of an office in terms of an AV perspective can be done. Again, very translatable technology that you can use in education or government or anywhere, right? So this is going to stay, and we are going to be having hybrid workforces here in future. So this is a space that I wanted to just give you a quick introduction. I also wanted to just quickly highlight on the things that we spoke about today. Having a managed service provider has three major advantages. One is keeping up to date with the trends. If there are new technologies that's getting introduced, we are the experts, right? The system integrators are the experts who can help you with this, right? We will have the expert team to look at any specific issues in terms of your equipment, in terms of how we are delivering this service, how is your user getting satisfied with this entire experience. That is the second advantage. And the third is cost saving, everything under one hood, right? Basically giving us peacefulness 24/7. So this is the whole concept of managed services. I also want to quickly invite you all to our booth, which is right at the front. Vega is a leading system integrator. We have offices across 20 plus countries. We have we do project management, we do design, we do project installation, we do managed services, and we are probably the one of the biggest integrators out here whom you could come and talk to us. Come grab some coffee with us. We'll explain you a bit what more we do. We have some amazing technologies that's out on display. What I spoke about collaboration spaces, that's right there. We also have something like multimedia green room studios. That is also a demo that you can come and experience what we do, especially the education sector. When you're creating studio quality videos, what do? Do I have a small space that I can start recording videos, make training videos? You can record these videos and use it for many years to come, right? How do we get this high quality content delivered is something that we also provide. You can come visit our booth. We are right at the front row, D01. We will see you there. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to take it, but I don't want to take your lunch time. So I'll be outside. You can come chat with me. Thank you so much, guys.